The Flintstones. I just. Why the Flintstones? I like the Flintstones. I just. I don't know why Steven Spielberg decided to. Oh, I'm sorry. Steven Spielrock decided to make a live action adaptation of the Flintstones. I mean, I guess it was to cash in a bit on the, nostalgia for that time period. But at the same time, it's a weird one to go all in on. I just the Flintstones. This movie's weird. In case you're unaware of my delivery and absolute confusion just by looking at this that I've seen multiple times, it's the Flintstones. Meet the Flintstones. Modern Stone Age family. This movie came out in like 1993. It was a big budget, live action Flintstones movie with, Rick Moranis is Barney Rubble, John Goodman is Fred Flintstone, and Elizabeth Perkins, Rosie O'Donnell, and it's maddening. It's maddening. It's weird because the sets are constructed surprisingly well. And I've actually seen some of these sets because I visited Universal Hollywood last year, and they do have some of the props and set pieces still around, and you can see those. They're out and about. It's really interesting because they really capture the cartoony look of it, but it's just so jarring because it's still live action. Like, it's bizarre. It's bizarre because all the things, all the animals and appliances are, puppets and things, and it's just it still treats it like it's the 60s and everything. It's so bizarre. Like, right next to me, here we go, check this out. Okay, I'm gonna advertise something else. These are the Flintstones comic books. These are like the Flintstones but modernized, and it's got incredible art style. Like, these were put out by DC, and it's got some amazing art style, and it treats the material of the Flintstones it treats it very seriously, and it's a very serious storyline they go. They don't make Pebbles and Bam Bam kids. Pebbles and Bam Bam are in like either middle school or high school. They're teenagers. There's a lot of stuff that they reference in the late 60s with the popping up of malls and everything. And they take a lot of the stuff from that time period that would relate to people who grew up with the Flintstones, or people who know when the Flintstones came out and have been like, that's an interesting way to spin it, because that reflects modern issues that happened at the time. This is just weird. It's just, here's the Flintstones. Here they are, live action. Here's John Goodman shouting Yabba Dabba Doo, and Rick Moranis doing, oh, hey, Fred. And that's the whole movie. And, it's a really weird movie. I keep saying it's a weird movie, but they made two of these. They made two of these movies. They made the Flintstones, and then later they made the Flintstones Viva Rock Vegas, which, I'll let you know right now, is a fever dream. It is a nightmare movie, and I hate it. I do not enjoy that movie. The only thing that's good is that Stephen Baldwin was like almost born to play the role of Barney Rubble. It is bizarre. Oh, but this movie's just, I don't know. It's really disjointed. It just kind of mimics the Flintstones on the big screen. If I were to relate this to anything that's out right now, it would definitely be the live action remix that Disney's putting out, where they just take what you already know, they add a little bit to it, and they go on from there. This is basically just like a long, unaired episode of the Flintstones, just done with real people instead of cartoons. And it's so bizarre because Just like 2 years before this, Steven Spielberg releases Hook, which I think is a perfect mature look and progression of the story of Peter Pan, what happens when he comes back from Neverland, and all this other stuff, you know. And I feel like there's a lot of whimsy and charm to it that exists that's carried over from the original source material, but there's a twist on it where you're like, that's interesting, and that's a really unique way of going with that story and updating it and pushing it to where it would be in modern times, and how the characters would grow from the experiences that they grew up with and learned from based on how they were when we left them last time in the animated movie or the story. Depending on which one you're going at first, it's the same. It's essentially the same thing, the animated and the story. But this is just not. It just recycles and reuses. They reenact the opening segment, obviously. There's a lot of really bad rock puns. Like I said before, Steven Spielberg presents, so I'm a pun man. I love my puns. I drive my coworkers mad with all my puns, but this is just not fun. It's not fun. But the sets are weirdly designed. There's this whole thing where, you know, they're setting up Fred to like take the fall for the bedrock crisis. And like there's this whole corporate espionage angle, and it's why there's no need for that. The Flintstones are simple. Like I said with these comics over here, you could make them a little more in depth and stuff like that, but it's just kind of a disappointment. And it's definitely because of hindsight, because we have those comics now, which I definitely recommend picking up, and this movie is just kind of a product of its time, cashing in on the nostalgia of a generation that grew up with the Flintstones and putting it out there for them to introduce it to their kids in a safer way than watching the TV show, because the TV show at the time was deemed a little more risque, a little more sexist, and no air quotes, it was sexist. I mean, for God's sake, there's a Jetsons episode where everyone's afraid of Mrs. Jetson driving a car because she's a woman. Like, it's outdated, yeah, but I still enjoy it for what it was. Although I will say I do enjoy the Roman holidays a little bit more. But this is not the best. I'd probably give this like a 4 or 3. I might bump it up to a 5 because it's just so interesting, really, in the grand scheme of things. And is there substance to it? Sure. Is there a lot of good production value? Yeah. The cinematography is not very good because it's just kind of... It's the Flintstones. There's not going to be amazing cinematography. Most of it is just carrying over shots from everything else and just going from there. But this is... If you really want to check it out, go check it out. It's on Netflix as of right now. And it is what it is. I mean, I like John Goodman in it, but I love John Goodman in mostly everything he does. But it's okay. It's just okay. Alright. Let's take a look at the tape itself. Now that I've gone on about this for about 8 minutes. The tape itself is just kind of, your standard tape. It's the Universal MCA thing where it's like I like to call it the garage sale logo. Or like the label maker on the back. Oh man, I love the reviews on the prehistorical, hysterical, great front. Like, you ever wish your pals Fred and Barney could pop out of their cartoons and come to life? Just shout yabba dabba doo and your wish is granted. Amblin Entertainment and Universal Pictures teams up with the director of Beethoven to bring you this hit live-action motion picture about the modern Stone Age family. John Goodman stars as Bedrock's loudest, most lovable resident, and Rick Moranis is his bosom buddy, Barney Rubble. Together with wives Wilma and Betty, they're the coolest thing since the Ice Age. But look out, there's something rotten in the town of Bedrock. Scheming Cliff Vandercave and his accomplice, the slinky Miss Stone, plan to steal a fortune from Slate Co., and they need a stooge to take the rap. A sudden promotion, part of the pair's evil plot, lands Fred in the executive suite, and he and Wilma taste the snooty lifestyle of the rich and prehistoric. Meanwhile, Barney's luck takes a drastic turn for the worst. Will success spoil the Flintstones? Will their friendship with the rebels be destroyed forever? Will greedy Vandercave have the last laugh? Like, and I know it's going to be a little hypocritical saying that, like, oh, the espionage is weird for the Flintstones, but, you know, all the stuff in the DC Comics is fine, but I feel like it is because it knows the medium and it's treating everything very seriously from the get-go. This is very cartoony, everything, so when it throws the serious stuff in, it's kind of jarring and weird. And like I said before, some of the stuff they put in the comics is very reminiscent of problems that did occur and things that were happening during the time period that the Flintstones was around during. So I don't think it's too far out of the realm of possibility, but yeah, the Flintstones are just really bizarre movie, and it's not my favorite, but I'll watch it from time to time just for nostalgia's sake more than anything. But anyway, I feel like I've talked enough about this one. It's been going on for about 11 minutes, so I'm going to wrap that up. Again, 5 out of 10, and I'll see you guys in the next video.